Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wendy Ivy Martinez, also known as the Geek Goddess here on YouTube. We are going to be doing something that I haven't actually done since last year. Last year, I picked a author, Grady Hendrix specifically, and went and read a lot of his books to see if I really think he's worth the read or not. This time around, we are doing it with a brand new, different author that is brand new to me, and seeing how it goes. So let's go ahead and get started. So the time has come to do is this author worth the read? And specifically, we are going to be targeting Freida McFaden. Why Freida McFaden, Wendy? Why? I had a lot of thrillers that I read in 2023 that really weren't up to par and kind of made me not like the genre as much because a lot of them were flops. And so I was like, okay, I need to get back into thrillers because thrillers were my thing, and all of a sudden 2023 happened and pretty much every single thriller just sort of lacked. And I was like, maybe if we picked a popular author, my love for thrillers would come back. And so we have chosen Freida McFaden. We are going to be reading 5 different books from Freida McFaden. I'm going to be giving you guys updates from when I start, my first initial thoughts, when I first start the book, my thoughts in the middle, and my thoughts, and then give you an overall book review of each single book. Sometimes the updates aren't as consistent. You'll see me in the beginning and then you'll see me in the end. But we're going to be doing 5 different books. We're going to be doing The Housemaid. We're going to be doing Never Lie. We are going to be doing The CoWorker. We're going to be doing The Inmate. And last but certainly not least, we are going to be doing her most recent standalone, which is The Teacher. So I'm going to be giving you my updates, my thoughts on each of these books. And then we are going to come back here at the very end and I will tell you my final review on Freida McFaden overall, as well as the ranking order that I'm going to be ranking her books. So let's go ahead and get started. Hello, so I am halfway through The Inmate by Freida McFaden, and I have to give you my update on this book because honestly, I'm having a really great time. This is going to be the first Freida McFaden book that I have officially read, and I'm listening to this one on audio because they have a lot of her books on Everneath, I believe it's called now. It used to be called Scribed, but I think they changed it to Everneath, something like that. Everend, something like that. And this is so good. So in this, we are following our main character. I forgot her name, Brooke. We're following our main character, Brooke, and she is a nurse practitioner, and she basically moves away from her little small town after a horrendous turn of events, after her boyfriend, when she's 17 years old, ends up unaliving a lot of people at a sleepover, and he ends up trying to unalive her as well, although she doesn't see him face to face. She doesn't know that it's him, but she smells his cologne, and she feels him, and he feels like him, so she's like, oh, okay, this is the man that tried to unalive me. And so she ends up putting him in jail. And now that her parents have passed away, she goes back with her son, who is the son of this murderer that she has put in jail, and she gets a job, and the only job that takes her is the jail, the prison, the high security prison that happens to also hold her ex-boyfriend, the father of her son, and also the murderer. And right away, not right away, but after a few weeks, she actually comes in contact with him, and it's just insane. It's so good. It's I really like the writing. It's not that it's I guess it is really pretty fast paced from the very beginning. It's definitely a page turner. I really enjoy the main character. I really am enjoying how we are going the back and forth in time and kind of getting a little bit about what happened. I like how
right away, Freida McFaden already has you sort of start to put together what really happened, even though we could be completely wrong. Like, I could be completely wrong about who did it right now. But even if we do find out, even if that is not the surprise and the surprise is something else, because I feel like I've already figured out who did it, and I feel like there's going to be some random twist that gets thrown in there, and we've already had one little twist. It's just so good. So right now, I want to say it's giving like a 4.5 out of 5 stars at the moment, but we will see. So that is my first impressions. Even though it's 50%, I didn't have a update before that. So on The Inmate by Freida McFaden.
Hi everyone, so we are back here with a review for The Inmate by Freida McFaden. This is my first Freida McFaden book, and I'm glad that I started with this one instead of The Housemaid. I haven't read The Housemaid yet, but this was a good start. The Inmate was definitely a great start. So in this story, we are following our main character, whose name has escaped me now. It has escaped my brain. But we follow our main character as she basically moves back into her old town, and she is raising a little boy, 10-year-old boy. And the only job that she's a nurse practitioner, and the only job that she's able to find is at this high security prison. And unfortunately, she has no choice but to take the job because, I mean, she needs to have income, you know, she has a son. Unfortunately, though, the reason why she's so hesitant to take this job is not because it's a high security prison, but because of one of the inmates in particular, an ex named Sean, one of those. I think it's Shane, but I could be wrong. Sean or Shane. Why don't I remember his name? Sean or Shane. One of those. And so basically because of him, and she's the reason why he's in there in the first place. He did some horrendous things, and she definitely doesn't want him to know about the fact that that little boy is his son. No, this is not a spoiler. Like, you learn this very early on. It's not in the synopsis, but it's definitely very early on in the book. So I really enjoyed this book. I felt like there was so many like twists and turns. When it comes to thrillers, what I don't like is when I solve it easily. When I solve the whole aspect, the whole element of it, it makes me not enjoy a thriller. But this one, I thought I had it right. And then it threw another loop at me, and I was like, wait, what? And then the very end, the cliffhanger ending, not that there's going to be a sequel. There's definitely not going to be a sequel. I loved it. This book was so good. This book was so intense. I enjoyed the whole plot line. I enjoyed the main character. I enjoyed the situations that we were thrown into. I enjoyed pretty much everything in this book. I liked the fact that we were going back and forth within time to sort of see what happened. What exactly did this guy do that ended him up in jail? Like, how was her final testimony the one that got him in jail? And then it makes you form your own conclusion, and you think you're right? Like Freida McFaden has a way of making you think that, like, you got it right. Like, this, and this ticks off. Like, it has to be this person. It had to be this person. And then she throws a wrench in your plans, and it's like, whoa, I wasn't even close. Like, what? It's crazy. Like, this book was just insane. I really enjoyed it. Like, so far, this book was definitely worth it. So I'm glad that we kicked off the whole Freida McFaden thing with this book. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't perfect. It had its imperfections. There was times where the pacing wasn't as fast as I had hoped, or I thought that I had solved it, and that made me, like, I don't know, take a step back. And there was a time where we weren't really getting, like, how do I say it? The plot kind of like lagged a bit, but not in like a way that made it so dull and boring. It just slowed down a bit that I had hoped it would keep up the pace. However, it is fast paced. I don't want to say that it's not fast paced. It definitely is a page turner, but there was just a little something missing in it. But that ending is what really made it that 4-star for me, because the ending was just It was perfect. If you like books where at the very end you have to form your own conclusions, like it's not like a solid, it leaves you thinking about it afterwards, you're definitely going to enjoy this book a lot. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I'm so glad that this was the first introduction to the Freida McFaden, and I cannot wait to read the rest of her books.
Hello, it is me, it is I. Hi. I'm here with my first update / first impressions for Never Lie by Freida McFaden. I am currently listening to this one. This is my second Freida McFaden book, and I am really enjoying it. I don't know what it is about this woman's writing, but she literally knows how to hook and hold somebody in her grasp, because her writing is just so highly entertaining and fast-paced that you just can't help but like stop listening or stop flipping the pages, because it's so good. Like, it's so good, it's so captivating, it's so intriguing, and she always leaves you with like a cliffhanger chapter ending that's like, what's gonna happen next? And she's great, she's fantastic. Anyways, in this book I'm currently on chapter 9, and we are switching POVs. We are starting with a newlywed couple who literally only knew each other for like a few months, and then all of a sudden they're married. The husband is like made out of money, and the wife is like nice and sweet, but she has like a secret, and we find out really quickly what that secret is. She's basically pregnant, and she's too scared to tell him, because even though he's never expressed anger towards her, she has heard him snap at someone, and she's like, whoa, he has a anger problem, and I don't want to feel that. So she's really scared to tell him that she's pregnant. Anyways, they go to this house that they end up seeing because they want to buy a new house, and when it's in the middle of the snow, so they end up getting caught in like a blizzard, and then they're stuck there, and then they realize that they're in the home of this like really famous therapist that passed away because they were unalived by their boyfriend. And this therapist was like really famous because she wrote like a couple of books that were like bestsellers, and even the wife knows her books because she read them. And all of a sudden one day she stumbles upon this like secret room that is full of these like therapist tapes. So I'm assuming they're gonna like listen to them, but we don't know yet. And then we switch POVs to the therapist, and this therapist, she seems really cool. She seems really chill. She's like, oh, the chances of me being unalived by one of my patients is like really low, and I always record my patients even if they say no, just because I get a lot of like notes from this that I can use later on. And she wants to eventually write a book later on in her life about all those case studies that she did, but of course she ends up being unalived. And she feels very comfortable with having her patients in her home, because she just thinks that the chances of anything happening to her is just really low. And that's basically where I'm at. It's really good. There's just so much to it, like the fact that they are in this therapist's home that was unalived by their boyfriend, and then there's this newlywed couple, and the husband has secret anger issues to the point where the wife is scared to tell him something, and they hardly even know each other because they've only been together for so long. It keeps it just very intriguing and very interesting, because you have a mystery on both POVs. So you're like, what happened to this therapist, and at the same time, what is going to happen to this couple? And it also seems like somebody's living in the house. Like, she's finding cold cups of water and a light turned on, and it's like, who's living in the house? But even though they go around the house, they don't find anyone. So there's like thriller, creepy little elements to it that's really interesting. So I can't wait to see where this goes. And right now it's looking really good so far.
Hello, hi. Do you like where you are positioned? I hope so. This is a new position. Anyways, hi. Welcome back to my Freida McFaden whole situation here. Today we are going to be reviewing Never Lie by, of course, Miss Freida McFaden, and I will let you know my opinion and yeah, just give my full on book review on this book. So I went into it blindly, and I believe I gave you an update on it as well. So I went into this book pretty blindly, and all I knew about it was that I knew that it was about a couple that was like isolated in like the middle of nowhere, and then they start listening to like these tapes, but there's like some secrets going on between them. It was not at all what I was expecting. I was expecting for this like therapist whose tapes they begin playing, I expected them to like go through it together, but apparently it's just like the wife that was listening to them, not the husband. So that was very different, and I thought the therapist was gonna make them question their marriage and things like that, but that wasn't the case either. That was completely made up all in my head. But anyways, overall, and it wasn't like that at all. So basically, this couple, this is not a spoiler, I'm gonna tell you what's going on. What happened was the jam with this a book. So what is the jam with this book? So it is about this couple that they do end up getting snowed in because they're gonna go see a house. So they end up getting snowed in right in front of the house, so they end up staying in it. It still has electricity, it still has running water, and it also has a guest, apparently, because the wife swears that things are out of place, that people are moving things around, she's noticing things, she's hearing noises, and the husband's just telling her that she's crazy, but she's like, no dude, like, I'm not crazy, I swear this is what happened, okay? This is what happened. And so as that all happens, the wife ends up finding this like secret compartment that opens up and then reveals. And so basically this house belonged to a therapist that ended up going missing and has apparently been murdered by her boyfriend, and nobody can find the boyfriend. Nobody knows what happened to him, but apparently there's not enough evidence to arrest him anyways. So after that, like, this wife is a little freaked out. She's like, oh my gosh, is this lady haunting this place? What is going on? Why would he want to murder her? But then she finds a secret room, and in the secret room there's like all these tapes of all her recorded sessions with her clients, with her therapy clients. And so she starts listening to all the tapes of like all these people, and she's like, wow, like there's a lot of people who might have wanted to like murder her, especially this one client, this one patient in particular that had like a narcissist personality disorder, and he was like, you like hated him, okay? Like, if you are reading this book, you're gonna hate this man. So then from there, we have like this wife thinking that she's going crazy, thinking that somebody's going in the house. She's also pregnant, and she's trying to keep it a secret from her husband. Again, this is not a spoiler. And then she's trying to figure out what happened to this therapist. And of course, it's Freida McFaden, so we get these plot twists. And I really like this one. Out of the two that I have read so far, this one has been my favorite. I enjoyed this a lot. I really liked it. I'm not gonna lie. I really liked the whole like story. I really liked how I felt like this one was like, the other book was very fast paced too, but I felt like this one was just like non-stop. I liked that we were going back and forth. It's like a non-linear timeline, so we were going back and forth between our main character's point of view, and then we were going back in time to the therapist's point of view as well, and we were filling in the gaps, and we're like, oh my gosh, like, is the main character gonna figure out that this was happening to the therapist? Like, how is she gonna figure that out if she only has the tapes? She doesn't know the backstory. And then you're just going back and forth in time and trying to see how these two separate pieces of the story are going to finally link together. And when they link together, oh my goodness, it is a mic drop moment. This was fast paced. The characters were amazing. Like, I really enjoyed our main character. I really enjoyed just everything, the whole situation that happened. I liked learning things from the therapist's point of view as well, because in combination with her, like, she really did seem like a therapist, and the way that her thought process worked was very interesting and very intriguing. And I liked that we learned some actual facts about life as well. Like, I even texted my niece about something that was like, hey, because my niece is like, she's like single and she's like looking, so I would text my nieces and I'm like, hey, just so you know, did you know that if you wear red, men will find you more attractive? They have more amorous feelings towards you. And so I was just like texting her like all this stuff that I was learning, that I was like grasping onto, because I'm like, that's interesting. Note that down. Oh, that's interesting. note that down. It was so good. So I really enjoyed this one so far. Out of the two, this one is definitely my favorite. This one is 5 out of 5 stars. Because right when you think you got the plot twist and you got to figure it out, it's like Freida McFaden has this way of making you feel like you think you know who it is, and then it's like, nope, swerve, no, that's not who it is, it's actually this person. You're like, it's the person that you least expect. It's the person that you least expect. And then when you expect that it's the least person that you expect, you end up being wrong, and it's someone else that you were even least expecting. It was so good. 5 out of 5 stars. So I am reading The CoWorker by Freida McFaden, and I am a little more than halfway through it, and so far it's so good. However, I don't like it as much as I like Never Lie. So far that's been like my favorite. The plot twist, I like how Freida McFaden does her plot twists. Like, I feel like every single book is something different, and right when I think I get the concept of who done it, you know, it's always who you least expect. I'm like, okay, who's the least expected person to do this? And I go with that choice. She throws another plot twist, and it's like, I was off. So I like the fact that even though I'm on her third book, I still can't sense the pattern of her plot twist, and I can't sense the pattern of who done it and what's going on. Like, I still love that she still keeps me on the edge of my seat. So I really like this. Now I understand the whole infamous turtles. So The CoWorker is infamously known for having a lot of the word turtles in the book, and I can see why. So in this book we are following two characters. We are following what's her name? Dawn. So Dawn is like, she's a little special. She, you know, she's different, and she's like a coworker in the office, and no one really likes her just because she's socially awkward. And then there's another girl on the other hand named Natalie, who everyone loves, everyone enjoys. Like, everybody thinks that she's, you know, the bee's knees. And all of a sudden Dawn goes missing, and then the first one to notice is Natalie. And Natalie is like, where's Dawn? Like, Dawn, you don't understand. Like, Dawn is there every single day at this certain time. Like, she sticks to her schedule to a T. So when Dawn doesn't show up, Natalie's very curious. And so she starts poking around Dawn's desk, and then she gets a phone call, and it's like Dawn screaming, like, help me, help me, help me, help me. And so she starts to think something happened to Dawn, so she goes over to Dawn's house, and then she finds like a pool of blood on the floor, and then she freaks out. And so basically she calls a detective, and then the detective starts to suspect that it's her, and nobody knows what happens to Dawn. And with, like, Natalie has like a really bad history with Dawn, so you start to see as like she bullies her. So it's like, did Natalie do it? Does she not? It's so good. So even after you find out who's done it, there's still a lot more to the story. So I really like that so far. I'm having a great time. Hi. Hello. Hi. Welcome back. Okay, we are here with a review on yet another Freida McFaden book. Woot woot. Anyways, we are on to book 3 of my whole Freida McFaden is Freida McFaden worth it, and that is The CoWorker. The CoWorker. Who? The CoWorker. I don't know what's wrong with me. Please help me. Final review on The CoWorker. I'm going to give you my full thought processes on The CoWorker. I am going to be honest with you. When I first started reading this book, I loved it, okay? I loved it. Not to say when I finished it, I didn't like it. I mean, it was still good, but honestly, my initial thought process on this book was like, yes, 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 this is going to be a 5 out of 5 stars. And then the more I read it, the more it was like, maybe it's gonna be a 4-star. Maybe not. You know, so as I was going through it, it lowered and then lowered, and then we hit the ending, and then it was like, yeah. So one thing I do have to say, I'm not sure if I told you the whole like synopsis. If I didn't, let me tell you the synopsis. We are following two main characters. Pretty much. We are following Dawn because we go back and forth in time. So it's a non-linear timeline. We are following Dawn and we are following Natalie. So Dawn is a very weird coworker, like nobody really likes her. You know, she is, you know, she's different. She is very socially awkward. She doesn't know how to do it. She doesn't know what to do in like certain social situations. And then we follow Natalie, who is the total opposite. She's like the top salesperson of her company. Everybody loves her. Like, she has so many friends, and like she's like the gal that like everybody wants to be around. Okay, but then one day, but she's right next to Dawn. So one day Dawn doesn't come into work, and she tells her boss, she's like, Dawn isn't here. And her boss is like, okay, maybe she's just late. And then she's like, no, you don't understand. Like, Dawn comes here every single morning at this time. She follows this specific routine, and she's been doing it for years, or however long she's been there. She has never fallen off. Like, something is weird. And her boss is just like, no, I think you're overthinking it, girl. Like, just calm down, relax, all right? Just take a chill pill. So then Natalie tries to take a chill pill, but then Dawn's phone goes off in her little cubicle, and Natalie walks over to it, answers the phone, and she's like, hello, and she swears that she hears Dawn's voice go, help me, help me, help me, and then hangs up. And then Natalie's a little spooked, and she's like, maybe we should call the police. And then the boss is like, you're fine, you're overthinking it, maybe it's just the customer that needed help and hung up because the signal wasn't good. So she's like, okay, maybe you're right, maybe you're right. But then she goes back to the cubicle, and there is a turtle in the cubicle, in Dawn's cubicle, and Dawn had a obsession with turtles, which, by the way, if you are going to read this book, prepare for the word turtle like 5 gazillion times. You better want to learn about turtles, because you're going to learn some facts about turtle. Hello, welcome to National Geographic with Thriller Murders, because that's what you're gonna get. But anyways, so we follow Natalie as she goes to Dawn's house. She's like, I'm just gonna check up on her. She sees Dawn's car parked there, goes into her house, and Dawn isn't there. Okay, she's not there. She's looking around. She's like, what is going on? And then she finds a big pile of blood, and she calls the sheriff, and she's like, hey, I found a big puddle of blood. I can't find my coworker. I don't know where she's going. And then the detective comes, and then he's like, hey, he starts questioning Natalie as if Natalie has something to do with it. And then the more that he talks, the more like he's suspicious of Natalie, and like Natalie is like, dude, like I was the one that was watching out for her. What are you talking about that I did it? I wasn't even around. And then she realizes that she doesn't have an alibi for the night previously, so she tells her boyfriend a lie about them spending the night together, and so the boyfriend lies to the detective, and then a whole bunch of stuff goes down. And then we go back and forth in between like Dawn's perspective and Natalie's perspective, and then we go back into Dawn's perspective, and then we find what was really going down between like her and Natalie, because Natalie says that they were pretty good friends, but then Dawn has like a completely different story. So what exactly is happening? Is Natalie responsible for this? We don't know, but we do find out sooner than you think. Okay, and as soon as we find out, you're like, I like that Freida McFaden does that, because you don't expect who it is. And even after reading 2 of the other books like back to back, I was like, okay, I'm gonna think that it's this person because based off of her pattern, I'm gonna assume this happened. And it wasn't. And I was completely wrong. So like 3 out of the 3, I have gotten zero right. Zero guesses right. So my detective skills are absolute dog poop in this case. Same thing, we will see what happens with the Housemaid, but so far 3 out of the 4 books that I'm reading, I have been completely wrong. So once you find out earlier than you think, and then we are faced with a different problem. When that happens, when you find out who it is, and then the story still continues on, I don't know, that's when I sort of lost interest, because once you find out and then this happened, you're just like, like, okay, like there's still a lot of things to say after that, but it was kind of like lackluster when you find out the revelation of who it is. I don't know, it didn't create that shock factor that I was anticipating. You know, you kind of almost suspect it, but you don't really suspect it. Do you get what I mean? It didn't have that shock, that wow factor that I was expecting it to have. It just didn't. So overall, with the ending, I didn't really enjoy the ending either. I can't go into that because I don't want to spoil anything, but it just was very, I don't know, I just have to say, like, once you find out who it is, the story just sort of like flatlined for me. So in the end, overall, up until that, it was going great. It was fantastic. And then you find out, and then other things start to happen that unravel. I didn't particularly enjoy the unraveling of these things. And what happened after that, you know, it's just like you expect karma, but then like karma, I don't know how, I mean, like, I enjoy how Freida McFaden writes her characters, how they're pretty complex, how our main characters aren't like super good, and you know, they tend to have like, you know, darker sides that they don't really show. However, I don't know, just the way that it wrapped up wasn't great for me. And then after that, like, initial, like, you find out who it is, it just sort of flatlined. So I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't the best Freida McFaden book out of the ones that I've read so far. It's been the one that's like, you know, like, lacked the most oomph, you know, but I did enjoy the turtle facts. So anyways, you guys, that is my review on The CoWorker by Freida McFaden. So today I am going to give you, I guess, this is technically my first update, but I've been like speeding through this book so fast that it's probably going to also be my last update, because I just started it yesterday and I'm already like 75% of the way in. So my first impressions on the Housemaid by Freida McFaden. This book is honestly really, really good. I'm enjoying it a lot. So in this story, we are following Millie. And Millie basically just got out of prison, and she's been in there for years. And we don't know why she's been in prison. But she got out and she can't find a job anywhere, and she's living in her car because everybody that finds out that she's in prison ends up like firing her and things like that. And so she finally gets this interview to be a housemaid for this very wealthy family. And she doesn't think she's going to get it, you know, because they're going to do a background check. And they're like, oh, yeah, there's no way, like a live-in housemaid where there's a kid, there's no way that I'm going to get this. But surprise, surprise, she does end up getting the job. She gets hired by this like rich woman named Anina. Anina has a husband named Andy, and she also has a daughter named Cecilia. And Cecilia, the little girl, is a brat. She's an absolute brat. And Nina is an absolute nightmare. And she treats Millie like absolute crap. But Millie knows that she has to stay there because there's no other job for her. So when she gets to this house, she realizes that the room that she's staying in locks from the outside, and she doesn't have a key. So she asks Nina, like, hey, can I have the key for it? And she ends up giving her the key, and she also notices that the window stays shut. So she's like very like curious about this family, and they're like, okay, she's like, okay, why did they hire me? Why does this door lock from the outside in? But nothing happened. So, I mean, why does this door lock from the outside in? But they end up giving her the key, and Nina just like treats her like absolute crap. So you're just wondering why this very handsome man stays married to this like terrible woman this whole time. But it's very interesting. It's very fast-paced. I like our main character, Millie. I like how Freida McFaden, even when it comes to the main characters, you still don't entirely know their story. And so you're left wondering, like, where is the mystery thriller element going to come in? Who is going to cause it? What's going to happen? You're just waiting for the shoe to drop. And Freida McFaden has a good way of getting the shoe to drop in a very, like, huge climactic, like, oh my gosh sort of way. So I already got to
one reveal, one huge reveal, and so far I'm just I don't want to put it down. It's absolutely amazing. Hello, hi, it is me, it is hi, I'm back with a review on The Housemaid by Freida McFaden. So as you can see, I have done my tabbings, I have tabbed it. Anyways, I am excited for this. I'm excited to tell you all about this book. So The Housemaid is, I don't know, I think I kind of talked about it, maybe I didn't, but this is about a housemaid that went to jail for like 10 years or something, and she finally gets out of jail and she can't find a job because obviously she's been incarcerated. We don't know why she's been incarcerated for a very long time, but she did something to the point where after she gets out, nobody wants to hire her. And so she finds a job at a bar, but she ends up losing that job, and now she like is living in her car because she can't find a job anywhere. So she decides to interview for a housemaid position at this like beautiful huge mansion, right, that these like rich people own. And she gets interviewed by this woman named Nina. Now Nina sees her and she's like, oh yes, you're perfect, okay, you're hired. Once she's hired though, our main character, Millie, ends up getting treated like absolute dog shiznit by Nina and by the daughter. They treat her like trash, and they're just, the daughter's so spoiled. Nina is such a biatch to Millie. And then we have Andy, who is the husband, and he seems to be the only one that's like sane and normal and actually really nice in this household. And Millie's like, dude, why did you marry this woman? And so thus ensues, what the heck is going on with Nina? Why is her mental state so bad? She apparently was hospitalized for doing something terrible, like in a mental hospital, and maybe that's why she acts the way she does. But what exactly happened to Nina? And there's like all these like mysteries going on about this mysterious family, and also about the main character herself, because we don't know exactly why she was incarcerated. We don't know exactly who she is, why she doesn't talk to her parents, why. There's just so many mysteries all across the board here. And this book was really good. Okay, I have already read a few Freida McFaden books to the point where I knew that I was going to be thrown through a loop. And I knew the person that you suspect the least is usually the one that tends to be the one that's off. And I was right. I got it right. So this one was pretty predictable. However, it was still very enjoyable, and there were, even though I predicted who was the messed up one in the whole story, there was still so many other twists and turns that I was not expecting within the story. So even if you predict the biggest plot twist or one of the biggest plot twists, there's so many different plot twists and different plot elements throughout the story that I just wasn't expecting. So it was just really good. I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. It is a definite like female rage, good for her sort of story, and that is my shiznit. Good for her female rage is my shiznit. And now I see why they made this into a series, because going into it, I'm like, how are they going to make this? Even towards the end, I was like, how are they going to make this a series? And then when we got to the very last sentence, I was like, oh, that's how. When we got to the epilogue or whatever, I was like, oh, I get it now. So I really enjoyed this a lot. I had a lot of fun. It was pretty fast paced. The whole story unfolding was very entertaining. There were times where I was very frustrated, but that's the purpose of it. You're meant to be frustrated with these infuriating characters. However, I enjoyed Millie throughout the story. I was very curious and just kept wondering and taking random wild guesses as to why Millie was incarcerated, what she's doing. I was wondering if there was some backstory within these two, within like why Millie chose this particular house to work with, or why Nina chose her. There was just so many moving parts to the story that just really worked for me, and I enjoyed it a lot. I felt like it was very different from the other Freida McFaden books that I read. Not in the sense of like the thriller, I don't know, I just thought it was very different, and I really enjoyed it a lot. So anyways, that is my final review for The Housemaid. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I definitely want to dive back into the characters and find out how they're doing, and also read on to Millie's other further adventures within the
series that Freida McFaden now started. I think that's the only series that Freida McFaden has written, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong though, but I think the Housemaid series is the only series. I think all of other Freida McFaden's books are standalones, if I'm not mistaken. So it's gonna be nice to like read a whole series, but this is the second to last book that I'm reading in this vlog. So I'm excited to see how the last one goes, which is the most recent release, The Teacher, and how it differs from this Housemaid one.
Hi, hello, hi, it is me, it is I, hi. Welcome, or welcome back, I should say. So today I'm going to give you guys my final review on The Teacher by Freida McFaden, because I finished it. I know I did not update you guys, and I deeply, deeply apologize. I'm so sorry. But anyways, in The Teacher by Freida McFaden, we are basically following two main characters. We are following the point of view of the teacher, who basically seems like she has the perfect lifestyle, right? Like, she is married to this amazing man, and she has like a great teaching position, but she realizes that one of her students is a girl that happens to have caused a huge problem for another teacher the previous year. And then the other point of view that we are following is that student. So basically, this student, this main character, she supposedly fooled around with the teacher and ended up getting him kicked out of the school system. He had to resign from teaching, and he's basically like a disgrace. Like, nobody wants to talk to this man anymore, except for, you know, the teacher. And so when the teacher actually bumps into this teacher that got expelled because of this student, and she says, yeah, I have this student in my class, he says, be careful with her, she's dangerous. And so the teacher is like, why is she dangerous? And after that, weird things start to happen. Like, it seems like this girl is like following her. It seems like this girl's like out to get her. But when we switch point of views to the girl that's in her class, she thinks that the teacher's out to get her. And she's like, oh, well, she's after me. And slowly, little by little, things begin to unravel. We also, again, have the husband of the teacher, who is also another teacher. And even though he seems like the perfect husband, he doesn't touch his wife. He hasn't touched her in like a long time. And they only like get intimate like once a month on a specific Saturday. And if she tries, he has no interest. And the more and more we find out about each and every of each of these like women's lives, we realize that neither one of them is innocent. We realize that things are a lot darker than they first seem, and things start to get twisted. And it was, honestly, it was good. It was good. However, I did not like, and I feel like this is a common thing now, like, I didn't like the twist in this one, because I was expecting it. By this time, I was already so used to the way that Freida McFaden writes her, like, books. So I already knew it was going to happen. I was like, okay, I know what the twist is going to be. I know who did it. I know who's to blame here. And sure enough, I was right. Because I think I just read so many books by her in a row that I'm like, I already know who it's going to be. I already know what's going to happen. And I was right. I was, like, spot on. So this one was a little bit of a letdown for me. It was a little bit of a flop. I was very disappointed by the way that things ended, because you wanted things to end a certain way, and you wanted the person that was supposed to get the things that like they're supposed to get coming to them to actually get the things that they had coming, and they don't. And it really kind of pissed me off that it ended that way, you know. And I get it, it's real life, and that's the way real life works, but we don't want real life, okay? We want a twisted ending, or we want a satisfaction ending, and that was neither of those, okay? It wasn't. And you know, I'm even okay with like open endings, like we don't know how it ends, but I just felt like, I guess it was sort of an open ending, but it wasn't. It just felt very flat, and it felt very unsatisfying towards the end. And I'm like, I wanted this to be wrapped up in a pretty little bow. Like, this person deserved what they had coming to him, and they just never got it. And I was like, all right. So I think I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5 stars.
All right, so we are here with the finale, the wrap up in this whole Freida McFaden journey, and I'm going to give you guys my tier rank on what I think was the worst book to the best book, and tell you if I think that Freida McFaden was worth the read overall. If this is an author that I think you should check out, if I think this is an author that you are better off skipping. So let's go ahead and get started. So at the very, very bottom, I think the book that I liked the least was The CoWorker, and that's only because I just didn't like the twist. They put the twist too early, and it just sort of felt anticlimactic, and I wasn't so attached to the characters that I cared too much about what happened afterwards. I just felt like that was just kind of thrown in there too quickly, and so I hadn't yet formed that attachment to the characters where it made a huge impact on me. So that's coming in at number 5. Number 4 is going to be The Teacher. This was okay. I didn't like the ending. I just didn't like the twist either. I didn't like this book, okay? And this one was a little bit more predictable because by then this was like my final book that I read by her. So I kind of already sort of knew what was coming. I started to see the kind of pattern that Freida McFaden likes to do and the twists that she likes to add. And of course I was right. And so it didn't make as big of an impact for me. I didn't really like the characters too much that we were following, so that was another flop for me. However, I did enjoy the story. It wasn't a bad story. I think it was like a 3. I rated it a 3.5 stars. It wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't like the worst either. And then above that is going to be The Inmate. What really did it for me and what made it a 4-star was not the twist, because again, I didn't enjoy the twist in this one either, but it was the ending. The twist at the very, very end, that's when the mic dropped and I was like, all right, you were gonna be a 3.5 star and now you're gonna be a 4, because that right there is like, what? That was great. Above that is going to be, I'm probably going to give it to Never Lie. I really enjoyed Never Lie. I enjoy stories like this, and I can't even say why I enjoy stories like this because I don't want to give anything away. But this story is like right up my alley, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the twist. I enjoyed everything about this. Okay, I enjoyed everything about the story. I really enjoyed it. I like that they kind of incorporated little horror elements, like, oh, the painting would move, and you almost want to think it's something supernatural but it's Freida McFaden, so you know it's not going to be. I kind of like how they incorporated that, especially as like a horror book fan girly, so I really enjoyed that. And then at the very, very tippy top is going to be The Housemaid, because again, I like books like this. I like power to her, go woman go sort of books. And this has just that. And I effing loved it so much. So that is my tier ranking. So overall, do I think that Freida McFaden is worth a read? And I honestly have to say yes. I read 5 different books by her and I didn't rank anything below a 3-star, so that alone just speaks volumes. I had like 2 3-stars and then the rest were 4 and 5 stars. Yes, I definitely do recommend Freida McFaden. I definitely do think she is worth a read, and if I had to go and do it again, I definitely would pick this author. And this was really fun. This was really fun because it gets me to read new genres, new authors that I wouldn't really like. And it really gets me to read authors' backlists as well, because I have so many books that I want to read by so many new authors that it gets me to be like, just really zone in on one and be like, all right, we're going to target this author. Let's see if I really enjoy this author's work or if it was just that specific story that I enjoyed. And I like that I'm able to do that with these reading vlogs. So if you guys enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. And I will definitely be doing more in the future because this was really fun. I liked tackling on authors, and I hope you enjoyed this reading vlog as much as I enjoyed making it. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!